whether you've got even some quite old coaches or some much newer ones, this coach lighting strip will work in them all. A big hello to you. It's so great to see you. I hope I find you well. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcoming you up here to Weir Yard, and today we've got a little project video with thanks to TrainTech, who actually sent over one of their coach lighting strips. Now these are solder-free, wire-free, completely battery operated, so with motion control it means you really don't have to worry about a long-winded and tedious install, and it's a great retrofit to any coach in your fleet, be that old or brand new. It also means that both DC and DCC users can enjoy this, and because they're motion controlled you don't have to worry about switches to turn them on and off, and you also don't have to worry about having rakes and rakes of coaches sat in your sidings that you have to somehow turn all those lights off. It all happens automatically. And if you're worried about the fact that, well, does that not mean that when the train pulls into a station and stops briefly, all the lights go out and then only come on when the train moves? They've got a 4-minute timer, so if nothing happens for 4 minutes, then they turn off. And that means that signal stops and stops in stations are all catered for, and the lighting is absolutely flicker free. So with thanks to TrainTech, we're going to have ourselves a little project to fit one of these, and I've chosen a Bachmann Mark I coach because these are probably one of the more common coaches that are out there, and certainly probably going to be one of the more popular items to retrofit these lighting strips into. They are available in a range of different lighting intensities so that you can have either modern style lights or the older tungsten filament kind. It's just simply a case of making sure you choose the right one when you're purchasing these. And they are also able to be trimmed, so if you've got some really short wheelbase coaches, then don't worry because the lighting strip will fit in those as well. Just follow the instructions on where you trim them to make them fit. But come with me in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support comes from Rocar Prototype Models, where detail, accuracy and value for money go hand in hand. With their debut model of SafePack auto racks wowing model railroaders alike, now is your chance to order these in road names and configurations to accurately reproduce auto rack workings from 1974 to the present day on your model railroad. Order today from rocarmodels.com and see the full range for yourself. So let's get on with it. This retrofit to a coach in my fleet of this TrainTech lighting strip, and let's see just how easy it is to get this installed and on the layout. TrainTech range is pretty extensive, and one of the items that really jumped out to me are these really easy to install coach lighting strips. Now we've seen a lot about lit up coaches, different schemes from different manufacturers, but this is a retrofit for pretty much any brand of coach. So whether you've got even some quite old coaches or some much newer ones, this coach lighting strip will work in them all. The other good thing about this is it doesn't matter whether you're running DC or DCC because it's battery powered, and if you're worried about the lifespan of the battery, these are actually quite good. The CR2032 batteries, and it does come with one in the pack, these are the same batteries that motherboards on desktop computers use, and I've known these to go for 10 plus years. Even though admittedly it's not exactly a huge load just saving the contents of the CMOS, but even so these do have a very long lifespan. The other thing about these as well is that they're available in, well, pretty easily from almost anywhere. I've seen them in supermarkets as well. So what do we get in this package? Well, we get the strip itself, and I'm just going to open this up. And as you'll see in today's video, it's a really quick and easy project that anybody can do. And there's no switches involved, there's no magnetic switches, physical switches. Once it's fitted in your coach, then unless you need to replace the battery, it's just fit and forget. It motion senses, so it will only come on when the coach is in motion. So you're not going to also end up with huge rakes of coaches where all the lights are on in your sidings, even though nobody would theoretically be aboard. So it's a really great way of just having lit up trains when they're on the move and not needing any input for dealing with them when you finish running your trains. Now, the coach that I've picked to do this fit to, I've gone for a Bachmann Mark 1, and the reason for this is twofold. Firstly, these are really quite ubiquitous. They've been on the market for a very long time now, still a really good standard, and they've also got an interior as well, which means that when you look through the windows there's something to see. And it is the case too that when you're doing the fit for this lighting strip, that if you want to, it's a good opportunity to put some seated figures in place, and these are available ready painted from the likes of Preiser, Noch, Bachmann Scenecraft, or you can get unpainted figures for a substantial reduction in price and put them in, paint them yourself, and it just gives your coaches a reason to be in the train with people inside. All we're going to need to do is get the coach open, and we've got the instructions here. Just get the roof off, fit the lighting strip. You can use either blue tack or sticky pads to hold it in place. If it is a metal roofed coach, then just make sure that you insulate underneath, and actually some decent sellotape will probably do the job for you. Just run a strip down the roof and then put the sticky pads over the top of that, and then it just refit the roof. So I'm just going to very, very carefully separate this from the strip. Just be very careful not to scrape any of the tracks in the actual lighting board, and another one just underneath here. So what I'm going to do now is just very, very carefully get the battery out, and then I can demonstrate this lighting strip before it goes into the coach. It really is just a simple case of inserting the battery just as you would if it was going into a computer motherboard, and you can see there instantly, because I'm moving this around, let me just get that in. It just clips down into place. I'm just going to leave that in one place, and that should go off eventually. There is a delayed reaction, a kind of timer on this. The reason for this is you don't want the lights just going completely out the moment a train pulls up at a signal, or if it pulls into a station, so it does have a kind of dwell time before they go out. And there we go, the lights have now finally gone out. That's happened automatically, and if I now just give these a tap, coach has moved and on they come again, and that means we've got plenty of time for when a coach is in a station. You can do station stops, the lights won't just go straight out. Whilst we're fitting these, I'm going to take the battery out, otherwise we're going to be wasting power just a little bit. And I'm going to turn now to the coach itself. Bachmann Mark 1 coach is pretty ubiquitous, a lot of different liveries. You can pick them up second-hand for quite cheap. In order to dismantle your Bachmann Mark 1, you're going to need a crosshead jeweler's screwdriver, pair of tweezers is useful, and I also use a pair of needle nose pliers. They may come in useful. First of all, looking to the underside, we've got the centre screw, and then we've got the two bogey screws, and you have to be a bit careful with these. These screws do chew up very easily and do have a nasty habit of getting seized in place. I think they're slightly over torqued from the factory, and to avoid stripping out the heads, the best thing to do is push down reasonably hard, not so hard as to damage the coach, and then just try and turn it. If it is seized up and you feel that there's a risk of stripping that head, try tightening it ever so slightly, and you might just feel a crack as it breaks loose, and then you can undo that. Next up, I'm going to have to remove the bogies. Again, push down, very careful. You don't want to strip these. The metal is a little bit on the soft side, I do find. Once you've taken the bogie off, then what we're actually looking for is, if we just move this to one side, there's another screw underneath here, and again, a bit of pressure and undo that. And it's these hidden screws that can be the big problem. And again, at the other end, now this screw is proving a nuisance. It's actually just refusing to allow the screwdriver to turn it. Not a problem. This is where the needle nose pliers come in. Gently grip the side, and we can use that to actually turn this to just get that off. It does tend to scratch up the head, but these are a very strange screw, it has to be said. Yeah, it really doesn't want to. I think somebody's been into this coach before and managed to strip the thread. Luckily, these bogie screws are reasonably easy to undo with a pair of needle nose pliers if you need to. And there we go, bogie off. Just take the close coupling mechanism back a little bit. Now, if you can help it, it does help if you don't undo this spring. Believe me, it can get quite fiddly putting that back on, but don't worry if it does come off. It's not impossible to get that all back into place. We've got another screw underneath here. Doesn't want to turn, so try that trick. Tighten slightly and then undo. The next step, and I've already worked these loose, is these metal end pieces. That one's already come out as we've been messing about. Just pull that one out as well. Look to the other end of the coach. We've got one on there. Pull that free. And the whole base of the coach with the ends will now pull out. And this allows us to slide the interior out just by prising the sides of the coach apart. And there we can get that free and out. And you can see here we've got quite a nice interior. This is a point where, if you want to, we can super glue some figures in here, because these are going to actually be illuminated quite nicely. We don't have a metal roof in this coach, which is quite alright. And what I want to do is just line things up. So the battery in the battery compartment, I'm going to put right here in the back of the coach. So let's have a look. I think we can make sure that when all this goes back together, we're not going to get in the way of anything. And that's pretty good. So I'm just going to get some of those stick-on pads, and you can buy these quite readily. They're also really good for when you're decoder fitting, but all I'm going to need to do, let's just get the one, and then I'm going to very, very carefully just cut out just a small amount of this. Don't really need a huge amount. One of the things I've noticed with this coach is we've actually got a lot of support, and it may actually end up being that this is going to just restrict us from just being able to get the roof back on. So just got to be a little bit careful. And I'm going to put one right at the other end. You can fit these into a smaller coach if needs be. There are some cutting points. It does show that in the instructions where you can safely cut these lighting strips without risking damaging anything. So I'm going to just make sure that we can line all this up, and I'm just looking at that and thinking, yeah, we're going to have to move this over just a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to fit the battery in. Don't forget to do this, otherwise you're going to have to dismantle everything to go back in. And we're going to start refitting the interior. Now, if this doesn't want to sit properly, then we can always just trim a channel in the top, but hopefully this will go back into place and not need that. And already you can see we're getting some light in there in the coach, so that looks just fine. We now get the base of the coach. When you're putting this back on, just make sure, actually we've got that the wrong way round. And the reason you can tell it's the wrong way round is you've got two holes there for the two end wires and just one at the other end. So make sure you don't get these mixed up, otherwise you will struggle. And this line up, slide down into place. Just check that we're all the way down onto the chassis. And what I like to do at this point is to put a couple of those screws back in on the underside, just so that we can then have some degree of support whilst we fit those end wires into place. We don't over torque, you never want to over torque these. Again, another, make sure that we can get these wires back into place. This is where the tweezers really come into their own. These can be just a little bit tight, a little bit of a nuisance. So we've now got the wires on the end into place, and then this is where it's a little bit tricky. Close coupling mechanism, make sure it's the correct way up. There's nothing worse than fitting these and finding actually you've got it the wrong way round. Hook in the end. Again, you're just going to have to manipulate it with the tweezers. Just get that to go through the hole. Again, these things can be a real nuisance, fighting all of the way. And there we go, into place. Make sure that end's hooked in, all in place, and I like to then get the bogie straight on just to stop any risk of that flicking itself back out. Don't over torque these, otherwise you are going to have a huge problem, especially at the point that you come to change the battery in the future. Let's get the other end on, make sure it's the correct way up, and then don't forget that final center screw, and it's as easy as that. A little bit long-winded, but that is how we get inside the Bachmann coach. And you can see there we've got the lights, and I'm just going to turn the lights down in here, and there immediately we can see that the interior is lit up, and we've got lighting inside to show off the interior detail. Let me just turn the last of the lights out, and you can see that on a nighttime layout this is going to look something special. Now believe me, it's a lot brighter to the naked eye. For some reason the camera just struggles a little bit more, but you can see that we've got the full interior lit up. Backlights those no smoking lozenges really quite nicely, and you can imagine a train of coaches with people in the seats really looking something special. So I transferred the coach onto the layout, and one of the things that I would say is that it's just a little bit difficult on camera to be able to see. The reason for this is just that the camera defaults to kind of adjusting for the lighting that's in the studio here. So what I'm going to do is get up nice and close, and then I'm going to turn all of the lights off just to stand a really great chance of seeing. And you can see there we've got the full interior of the coach all lit up. And believe me, to the naked eye, it is actually a really great effect. And there's even a little bit of light spill out onto the ground from the windows, which the camera is not really picking up. But certainly this does give a great effect. And after 4 minutes, it all will just turn itself off until the coach next moves. And there we have it, a great little project to add lighting to any coach on your layout, no matter what age. Well, I hope you really found today's video informative, and of course I would love to hear from you in the comments section down below just what you thought of these. Is it something maybe that you're now considering to add to your own coaching fleet? Or indeed, is it something perhaps that you've already used? I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below, and it's a great way of sharing your own experiences with other modelers. And we do have a link in the description box to help you find these to be able to purchase them for your layout too. Please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merch store at the link down below as well. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling, happy projects. Bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support comes from Rocar Prototype Models, where detail, accuracy and value for money go hand in hand. With their debut model of SafePack auto racks wowing model railroaders alike, now is your chance to order these in road names and configurations to accurately reproduce auto rack workings from 1974 to the present day on your model railroad. Order today from rocarmodels.com and see the full range for yourself. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Offshore Allen, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky107107, George Botterini, Chris Moss, Robert Steers, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, John N from NC, NYMRish, Jonathan Foster, Peter, Clifford Ison, Larry W. Grant, NI Railways 4000 class, Ian Coulson, Alan Dickerson, Eddie Popper, Karen Nichol, Medwin Williams, Crossways Point Junction, 3B Rail, Jennifer Horton, Trains with Nick, and Simon Snow. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.